Welcome to the Hurdle Podcast. A little special edition here for you. We're giving our picks for the NFL honors. So all your favorite awards, MVP, comeback player of the year, rookies of the year, both offensively and defensively, offensive and defensive player of the years, and of course, coach of the year, because coaches matter too. So we're going to get into those because it's regular season awards. We're now in the technically off season. I mean, there's still games to be played.
A game.
Yeah, a game, the big
One
game.
big game.
Yeah, so I mean, technically the regular season's over, and these are all regular season awards. So we're gonna go into those right now. Let's start. We'll work our way up to the significance
level.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's start with coach of the year. For me, it's a regular season award. I get where Bailey's pick's coming from because I think I said at the mid-season mark that he should win it. But I'm gonna switch it up. I'm going Zach Taylor because I don't want to pick the same with everything because it's pretty similar across the board. I'm going with Zach Taylor. I just think to turn that team around from when he got there and they had the number 1 pick and they had number 5 last year to turn around and get them into the playoffs and obviously see what's happening now, but that doesn't matter. But to get that team to a playoffs berth in that division, that's so tough because they beat up on each other year in and year out. I think for him being such a young coach to turn that team around and obviously where they are now, but to turn them around in regular season wise, put together some of the best football Cincinnati has seen in 30 years. I think he's a very high candidate to get it. He's the second odds favorite right now, according to Vegas. So if you believe in Zach Taylor that much, go and hammer that because the odds are very good for you.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor's had a fantastic year. I think he's really shown more in the playoffs. We know this is a regular season award, but not enough can be said about how fast the rebuild has been for this team.
Because I think you look at that Bengals team and it's like, oh, they're like 4 or 5 years away from being at least a decent team making playoffs, and they've done it in 2.
And they're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So enough can be said about Taylor, how he's refocused his offense. I wasn't a huge fan after last year because it seemed just inconsistent, especially when Burrow went down. I was like, we're just going to run Mixon 35 times a game.
Run him into the ground.
But then when they had Burrow, like they'd run him 25 times one game, throw 55 times the next game. And it was a little confusing. He was kind of feeling his way around. Really made his mark this year. My guy's Mike Vrabel, though.
I don't
the
disagree
favorite
with that. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
He is the favorite in Vegas. I mean, to go 13-3 without Derrick Henry, or 13-4 without Derrick Henry. Forget 17 games.
Yeah. Give us a couple years. We'll be on track and be like, oh, I don't even remember 16 games.
Year
season.
1, but 13-4 without Derrick Henry with Ryan Tannehill heading your offense at quarterback with no AJ Brown for half the year, with no Julio for half the year, and you still go 13-4. You smash Kansas City. You win all the big games. You beat LA in LA. He's had all the statement wins. Yeah, on Monday night. You just have all the statement wins, and you take the 1 seed. You really just coach your ass off all year long to get your team to the 1 seed. I mean, for what they did in the playoffs, it was fairly disappointing.
The regular season was,
but there's a regular season award. How he shifted this defense, this front 7 is fantastic. Caleb Farley is coming around. Kevin Byrd was the number 1 safety this year in football, period. And you just felt, when you watch him on TV, you can feel the passion that he coaches with, which is why I like him so
and he's
much.
Such a player's coach too. He's like a McVay. He's such a player's coach.
Yep.
He has the respect there, former player, so he gets it. And he's really built perfect for what Tennessee's trying to do. Because I think I remember when he got hired, I was just kind of like, who? Yeah. Like, I remember him on the Patriots, but like nothing crazy.
He was a great player.
And you look at how he coaches just like he plays. He has all the intensity. He knows how to adjust. And I mean, you saw it. Like that team on paper without their stars is a below 500 team. And they just played their asses off. They really did. It helps when you play Houston and Jacksonville twice a year. But still, like you said, to win the big games, to beat the Rams, who are in the Super Bowl, to beat the Chiefs, who were in the AFC Championship.
28-3.
Yeah, like a throttling, like pure throttling of the best team in football. Like it's incredible what he's done. I definitely agree. It's going to be one of these two.
Mhm.
I think.
I totally agree.
I think it wouldn't shock me if it's Taylor, but Vrabel's also just such a great pick. Coach of the year is really kind of, it's 1A and 1B. I don't think anyone's gonna be really upset with whoever gets it unless you're a fan of these teams. But as outsiders, we have no stake in the game. So I think either one of them would be great coaches of the year. So let's shift to the rookies. Let's go offensive rookie of the year. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory.
Yes.
It's Jamar Chase.
Yes.
I don't think it's really even that close. I mean, I think maybe next you could argue like Mac Jones, but it's like you're not going to give Mac Jones offensive rookie of the year over Jamar Chase, and they won't give it to an offensive lineman, so it won't be Creed Humphrey
or Trey Smith
or Trey Smith. But Jamar Chase is that guy. I mean, we all still question why they picked him over Sewell. And then, especially in the preseason, so I had a friend, I know he can't watch it because he's on his mission, but he messaged me on Monday and he goes, "What happened? I left and Jamar Chase was hot ass. And I come back and he's one of the best receivers in football."
He's like a top 15 receiver.
Yeah, he's like, once I get back in the loop, he's like one of the best receivers in the NFL. And I go, I don't know what to tell you, dude. It's that connection with him and Burrow. It's insane.
Figure out how to track the ball with no white stripes.
Yeah, that was I will never forget that. He goes, "Yeah, I dropped it so much because I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the white stripes." Like, but ever since that, he's just been on another level. Najee's one that you could mention too, just because of how great of a year he had in Pittsburgh. But it's like
Williams.
Yeah, like there's a lot of good people that could win it. It just sucks for them that Jamar Chase had to have the year he had because it's incredible. Like.
Yeah,
we haven't seen those numbers since probably Odell's rookie year or Jay Jettis' rookie year. Both. Yeah, it's insane, man. It is insane.
And he's putting up, including postseason, he's put up numbers we haven't seen since Torrey Holt, who's an all-time great receiver for the greatest show on turf. Jamar Chase is just the dude, and when you pair him with Burrow, it's just a dynamic duo that hasn't failed yet.
They're gonna shape how teams draft in the future. I think, especially with the quarterback receiver connection.
This college thing, you can watch it in our mock draft videos too. It's serious. Like it is a serious thing now on every level at every position. People are really taking it into consideration now when it comes to making the final decision. A tiebreaker or even getting a guy into contention at drafting at a certain spot if they played with whoever their quarterback is, or if they're pairing him on the other side at corner. Like in our mock draft 1.0, we have Andrew Booth Jr. going to the Falcons over Derek Stingley, strictly on the fact that he went to Clemson and played with AJ Terrell.
Or like
and is a great corner.
Yeah.
But
and you look at later, we have Mechie going late to the Lions, thinking the Lions are going to be bad next year, so they can pair Mechie and Bryce Young. Like
exactly.
It's just one of those things where the college game is just transferring so much to the NFL. And I think we can all agree the college game is way more fun to watch. It's way more exciting outside these last 4 games. But it's insane, the connection.
And Burrow Chase is example 1A, period, no doubt about it. And I would personally love to see Creed Humphrey win it, just because he's the best center in football as a rookie. We're talking Corey Linsley. We are talking Alex Mack. Better than all of them. But it's just the simple fact that there's 5 lineman positions. There's only about 2 or 3 wide receiver positions, and wide receiver is a skill position, so it gets more highlights. It's really hard to show highlight tapes of O linemen unless you're just laying dudes out constantly and showing great technique and footwork.
And if we're being honest, writers don't care about that.
And writers don't give a damn about that. So, but yeah, Chase should be probably unanimous, even though I love Creed Humphrey. Chase is by far and away number 1 on this list.
Yeah, for sure. And then let's just shift to defense. I think it's not as cut and dry, but I think it's...
Really? I think it's more cut and dry.
Really? I really like Holland in Miami. I like Bolton with KC, but it's my guy. It's Micah Parsons. It has to be. I think it's more closer than a lot of people are giving it credit for. Just because you saw what Holland did in Miami, he led that team in picks. He was the back end of that defense. Bolton has looked great in the second half of the year, and we agree a lot of the times that that later in the year sways a lot of what voters decide. And we'll get into that later with MVP and stuff. But I think it just has to be Micah Parsons. I think he is hands down. He's in line for defensive player of the year. And he's not going to win it, I don't think. But your rookie year, you have 13 sacks.
Yeah, like top 5 in the league.
And he's a linebacker, and he had to play D end when Tank Lawrence got hurt.
And then continued to play linebacker / D end.
Yeah, it's just insane. And it's so funny because every time Dallas drafts, I swear I hate the pick in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hate Micah as much as, let's say, a Zeke pick.
Most people did.
But I wanted a corner, and Denver made it so it couldn't happen. So then I go, all right, so there's no really great corners worth picking this high. What's the next defensive need that we need? And it was linebacker or a pass rusher.
Yep.
And Micah Parsons fit both of those. I'm so happy he's a Cowboy. I love that he grew up a Cowboys fan. He wants to be in Dallas. And when you get 64 tackles, you get your 13 sacks, you force 3 fumbles, that's game changing. That's game changing for a Cowboys defense. And I mean, like I said, I think there's other contenders in this, obviously, but his impact to start this year, like the Tampa game, his rookie game, 7 tackles, and he drilled Brady to start the game. And it just got better and better from there. It really did. He was after Herbert the next game. It was fun to watch as a Cowboys fan. I defensive rookie of the year is going to be Micah Parsons.
Yeah. If you think Chase is unanimous, Parsons is even more so. Like you said, he was a candidate for DPOY all year until TJ Watt tied the sack record in less games. So I guess that's a preview of where we're going there. But Parsons was he's a special breed of talent that I don't think I've seen for a little while. His ability to play DN / linebacker, the speed to go sideline to sideline. He covers tight ends with the best of them when they can throw him in spies. They throw him in flat coverages because he can play coverage fairly well. He's not excellent. That's not his expertise by any means. His expertise is getting to the quarterback.
There was that one game where he was 25 yards back in coverage. That just shows how versatile he is.
Exactly. The versatility is, he's probably the most versatile defensive player next to Isaiah Simmons, probably. We just talk about that, maybe even Derwin. But there's no D lineman / linebacker that does the amount of things that Dallas asks him to do week in and week out. And he really started making his name week 9. 2.5 sacks against Denver, sack against Atlanta, and that thrashing, which he only played, it seemed like 2 drives because they were beating him so bad. 2 sacks against Kansas City, KC. Back to 2 sacks against Vegas and New Orleans combined, 2 sacks against Washington. Once he's really started to figure out, it seemed like it was effortless. And when you have a rookie that can do that, unanimous, hands down, not even close. He creates turnovers. He plays man coverage against George Kittle in the playoffs.
And
holds Kittle to 1 catch all game. Him and Van Der Esch played very well that game. And he's fantastic in the run. He goes sideline to sideline with all the running backs. He plays left outside. He made tackles against Eli Mitchell, driving him into the sideline on the right side of the field. So, dude's just a tackle machine, run stopping machine, plays decent enough coverage, and creates turnovers, which is literally everything you ask a defensive player to do. Literally everything.
It's as simple as that. Let's jump to comeback player of the year. I think earlier in the year, this was very close between the quarterbacks and Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow. And then Dak kind of and Bosa started turning it up. But I mean, it's got to be Joe Burrow, right? I get I'm not looking at this playoff wise, but this year was just He was special, man. He was very special. That's 2016 Dak, isn't it?
2021.
Oh, never mind. It's just, you look at the numbers, like the passing yards are very identical. The touchdowns are identical. The interceptions are identical. You just have to look at
Impact on
Dak
game.
Prescott has one of the better offensive lines in the league. Joe Burrow has nothing. And he was able to drag that Cincy team to the playoffs. We know where they are now. And especially coming off, like, they both had terrible injuries last year and they were very early in the year. And for them to both bounce back this way is incredible. But Burrow had such a big impact on that Cincy team. And I think that's probably why he's going to get come back right there. Nick Bosa had one hell of a year, especially towards the end.
Did.
And it's hard not to pick him. But it's, again, when you look at it and you go, are you going to pick a quarterback or a defensive end? And it usually goes to the quarterback because they're the most important position on the field statistically. And that's how writers look at it.
Yep.
And Joe Burrow he's that guy, Joe Shiesty, baby. Joe Shiesty. Like, look at the sacks. He got sacked 21 more times.
Yeah. I mean, that says a lot within itself, but the huge takeaway, statistically, you really look at it, you probably pick Dak as far as a regular season award goes. 11-5, has the better record, throws the ball more, barely less than the completion percentage in the yards department, throws for more touchdowns and less picks, and doesn't get sacked as often, and is better in almost every advanced category, most advanced categories that there is, especially when it comes to turning the ball over. However, Burrow's end to the season solidified this award for him.
Yeah.
Like 1,000 yards and like 8 touchdowns in 2 games
Against Baltimore both
is
times.
Madden video game numbers.
Yeah.
Not only against Baltimore once and Baltimore earlier in the year, but KC beating them in the regular season in a division clinching game. This end of the season for Burrow was magical, and you can't take that enough. You can't take that away from him. And recency bias strikes a little bit. Of course, the playoffs leave a sour taste in their mouth when it comes to voting for Dak in this award, with how that game drew out. But I'm leaving it there. Joe Burrow's impact on the game is far superior, because you look at the rosters, you look at, like you said, the offensive line. He's getting sacked 21 more times over the course of the season. That's at least a sack a game more. And he's still able to deliver at the same level Dak is able to deliver at, plus some, I think. And just the clutchness, he wins the big games. All the traits and intangibles you look for in a franchise quarterback is what Joe Burrow gives you. And that's what also takes the writers and the media. It's what takes me. It's what's taking Logan and picking this.
Because trust me, I want to pick Dak so bad. But it's just, it's Burrow's award to lose. And like Vegas has Dak favored, but like.
Which statistically makes sense. And
writer bias because he plays for the Cowboys.
Yes.
But
I wouldn't be surprised if Dak wins. And I was with Dak until about week 13.
Yep.
But week 14 hit, and then week 15 happened, and Burrow started lighting the world on fire. And it is what it is. He's on a remarkable stretch right now.
And he played tough competition.
He played cover competition. I know it's a regular season award, but I don't know. Sometimes you just get the feeling that playoffs impact a player's ego so much.
I mean, dude, he's got every nickname in the book now. Man.
Yeah, exactly. But not just ego. I think that's probably the wrong word. But a player's confidence, swagger, and his presentability to the media, that I almost think Burrow's a lock for this award. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's fair. I mean, again, yeah.
Which I'm with you on Bosa too. Yeah. Bosa had a hell of a year too. I mean, he had 13 and a half sacks.
Yeah.
Was top 3 in sacks. Is hands down the best defensive player on that San Fran unit that made it to the NFC Championship. So you can't take away anything from Bosa either. I think there's 3 great candidates here. It's just Burrow is, when you talk about the big games, is on a different level.
Yeah, because like when all three of these guys went out last year, it's just like, dang, there goes all the star power because they were all very close.
Yeah.
And the fact that all three of them came back, bounced back, had great years, all three of them got their teams to the playoffs. Like It was truly something else. And that's just such a hard way to go. Let's jump to defensive player of the year. Is there really an argument?
No.
TJ Watt ties the sack record in less games. He single-handedly won the Steelers like 3 or 4 games this year just because of game-sealing plays.
Yeah.
Rather it was a pick, rather it was a batted ball. Because like the one that strikes out is when they played Chicago and he tipped the Fields out route. That gets converted. Santos makes that field goal because he damn near made it from 60.
Yeah.
Like there's a win there. It's just the Seattle game. And those are all early in the year games. And you look at the tear they went on late in the year. He might not have been winning them games, but he was getting his sacks late in the year. And that's really what just drives it home, man. Like 3 in that Chicago game and wins the game. 3.5 against Baltimore. Like those are all middle of the year, earlier in the year games. And then he just turned it up to end it. Like I don't see how you go anyone else. I don't know who the other candidates would even be. Probably Bosa is one of them.
Parsons is one of them.
Diggs is one of them, but if it's TJ Watt, it's not even close. Don't give me that look. I know. I don't. Okay. I'm going to say it here. Trayvon Diggs is a good corner when he's not one-on-one with the best receiver on that team. He's a ball hawk. He's the definition of a ball hawk. He jumps routes and that gets his ass half the time, but he gets turnovers and Dallas needed that this year.
That's a pretty big asterisk.
It is. Like he gave up most yards this year, but statistically speaking, great year by him. But that doesn't mean anything when TJ Watt has 22.5 sacks. Like literally for any of these guys, like TJ Watt having 22.5 sacks is just unfathomable. Because you look at the teams he plays too, like that division has great offensive lines outside of Cincy. And he goes on tears, man. Like in the Baltimore game, I think the one he had 3.5. I don't remember if Lamar was playing or not, but he has to try and go get Lamar. And that's a tough task. And when they play Cleveland,
Lamar was playing in that one.
Well, in either of them, right? But then you look at Cleveland. Cleveland's a run team. He had 1.5 sacks in the one Cleveland game, 4 in the other. Yeah. He had 5.5 sacks in the 2 Cleveland games, and they run the ball.
Exactly.
It's domination. It's pure domination, man.
Yep. He comes up. I agree. Clutch. TJ Watt's heavy favorite. Looking at odds, it's Parsons and Donald and Garrett. Which I don't know how you forget about Donald. Like
that's
next to, if we're talking about solely impact, Donald is one. He's double teamed the most at the highest rate and still produces as a top 2 defensive player every year. No debate about it.
Most years it would be him.
And most years would be him. Last year's the double team rate was such a huge stat that it won it over TJ Watt. That was a very close race last year.
So what TJ had 17.5 last year?
TJ had more sacks and more TFLs, I think, but the double team rate really took people by shock because Donald's getting double teamed literally every play. And he's getting double teamed like 85% of plays this year. It's something astronomical. But yeah, when we talk about impact on games, period, Donald 1, Watt 2, and it's probably 1A, 1B, because the amount of games, like Logan was saying, that TJ Watt won Pittsburgh this year with one of the worst offenses I've ever seen at the helm. We're talking about coach. How has Pittsburgh's OC not been fired yet? Like banished from the NFL? Is it Matt Canada?
I think that's right.
I think it's Canada. Yeah. Leave forever. Your offense is so 1960s.
Tomlin should win it every year. Though. This team, he hasn't had a losing year.
Tomlin deserves way more respect than what he got for having to handle this BS that he's had to put up with, and handle Matt Canada running his offense. And Big Ben.
And Big Ben being
big respect to him, but wasn't a great quarterback this year by any means. But TJ Watt is so insane that he plays with cracked ribs and drops 4 sacks on Cleveland, 6 sacks in 3 weeks like forces fumbles left and right. The Kansas City game, I know it's a playoff game, made his mark all the way through that first half until, he got the touchdown to start the game, got a pick for Cam Hayward, forced a fumble. He recovers it, walks it right in. Like
forces a pick for Devin Bush.
Yeah, forces a pick for Devin Bush with a tip ball, gets his own pick. Like he's a turnover machine, left, right, center.
And he's a DN.
And he's a DN / left outside linebacker. Can't cover like Parsons can, but he doesn't need to when he makes that much of a mark on a game as an edge rusher, and is just clutch in every sense of the word. Hands down as defensive player of the year. Yeah, just fine.
Yeah, we live in college. Sorry, we're not editing that out. We live in a dorm. Sorry.
If I could figure out how to edit it, I would. Yeah, TJ Watt. Sorry. That just threw me off my rhythm a little bit. But yeah, TJ Watt, defensive player. I probably don't even need to say anymore. Top one.
You say 22.5 sacks, and there you
in
go.
15 games with cracked ribs. Stapled as defensive player of the year.
For sure. Let's go offensive player of the year. Me and Baylor are split on this one. We believe it's down to these two.
Absolutely.
So I have Jonathan Taylor because I personally think if you take Jonathan Taylor off the Colts, they are a mediocre team at best because you saw what happened when they had to rely on Carson Wentz to make throws. Just put Jonathan.
Yeah. I don't know which way to spell it. There we go. Maybe Jonathan Taylor. There
you go. I think it should be JT. That's an insane year. I get he has such a great offensive line, but he rushed for over 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns. Like, I know he cooled off towards the end, and cooling off is an understatement because outside of the Jacksonville
game, in the big game.
Yeah, but neither was that whole team.
Neither was, Wentz.
So you look at it and it's.
They're just going to give me.
Yeah, they're just going to give you those.
Damn, that sucks.
Anyway, but.
I like the comparison tool.
Yeah,
if you like comparing stats, Football Reference.
100%. So. But yeah, you look at these games. He gets 170 against
the Jets.
No, NWE.
New England.
Yep. 170 against New England. 185 against Buffalo. Like 172 against the Jets. 145 against Houston. He had only a handful of games. You can count them on 6 fingers that he didn't get 100 yards.
And they lost all those games.
And they lost every one of them. If that doesn't scream how important he is to this team, I don't know what does. Because they start the year 0-3. Their season should have been over. And they were fighting for it at the end. Jackson had a great game plan. I don't know how. But it's just, you look at this and it's insane.
The numbers are stupid.
The Buffalo game, 185 yards and 4 touchdowns, excuse me.
Yeah.
And in the receiving,
he had a receiving.
Yeah, I was gonna say he had a receiving touchdown in that game. Receiving wise, he didn't have anything crazy. I mean, he had 116 in the Baltimore game.
That was a 75-yard touchdown he had in that game.
Yeah. So receiving wise, he's not as much of a threat as a running back, but he doesn't have to be because Carson Wentz is his quarterback. So all they have to do is give it to him. Behind that offensive line that didn't have Quentin Nelson for half the year, it's so hard because both these guys are so good that we have. I think Jonathan Taylor, you take Jonathan Taylor off this Colts team. This Colts team is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
You have to rely on Carson Wentz.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Value goes to Taylor hands down, no matter what, because Cup's been playing with Stafford and Robert Woods for half the year, then Odell with the second half of the year. Tyler Higbee's not that bad. Daryl Henry, they have a great run game. They have a great defense. McVay's their coach. Like, they're loaded all the way around. Indy is Quentin Nelson and Jonathan Taylor and Darius Leonard. Wrap, cut, and dry. Frank Reich's a great coach.
Very good coach.
Very good coach, except, I guess, in the Jacksonville game.
Outside
of the Jacksonville game. But yeah, Taylor's stats, straight over, is stupid to look at. Like 1,800 yards on the season is ridiculous. The amount of touches he gets a game is ridiculous. They started out 0-3 because they weren't feeding him the ball. 17 carries, 15 carries, 10 carries. And then like the carries don't even go up an insane amount. It's just the way he was running was just so insanely ridiculous that he demanded more carries by the end of the year. Like 14 for 145 for 10 a carry.
Yeah, like 10 a carry, 9 a carry
insane.
against the Jets. Like
Is insane.
New England almost 6.
And when you think about it, they could have used him more because he's a great receiving back too. Like they could have used him more in the receiving game. He has over 2,000 all-purpose yards. But my guy's Cooper Kupp.
And yeah, again,
And
I don't disagree.
yeah.
If either one of these guys wins it,
I'll be happy either way.
because they're both just studs. They're just studs.
This is like Donald Watt last year for DPOY, like we were just talking about. This is the same thing. But for me, Cooper Kupp, 2 words ring true, Triple Crown. And when you win the Triple Crown, I think you've got to win Offensive Player of the Year. I don't care if you're winning the Triple Crown in the flipping horse racing where you win the derbies.
Because we know a lot about horse racing.
Kentucky Derby,
Belmont,
the Belmont Stakes, and
that
that one other one.
Yeah, the other one, the other race of the Triple Crown that no one remembers.
I watched Secretariat too many times to not know that.
Yeah.
But he just gets open constantly, and he's the vocal point of a team that is in the Super Bowl right now. I know it's playoffs, but he was just the most consistent player in the league this year, all year long. There's no debate about it. He put up one of the best receiver seasons I think we have ever seen.
And it kind of came out of nowhere.
Really? Yeah, really. We knew Kupp had talent. We didn't know the numbers would look like this.
With Matt Stafford.
These numbers are insanity. Like, these are Jerry Rice, Randy Moss,
Megatron,
Calvin Johnson, Terrell Owens level numbers that he is putting up. And I know he doesn't get the respect. He mostly does it out of the slot. He's not a go up and get it guy. He is a route runner. He's really a 6'2" Edelman. And people don't realize how big he is. He's 6'2", like 208. And just the impact he had on this Rams offense this year, losing Brandon Cooks, losing Robert Woods halfway through the year until they pick up Odell. And he was there consistently for Matt Stafford, game in, game out. Never really wavered. The games he didn't really have any yards, he scored 1 or 2 touchdowns. The games he had a ton of yards, he scored 1 or 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, like what? There was, let's see. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games without a touchdown. That's it.
Yeah, six games without a touchdown. And in most of those games, he didn't have a touchdown. 11 for 95, 10 for 109, like 7 for 92.
And like, again,
11 for 122.
We know it's not a postseason award.
He's doing the same thing in the postseason.
He turned that shit up another level in the postseason.
Yeah.
He won them that Tampa game at the end. He had the 2 biggest catches of their season.
Yep.
And then the San Francisco game, he was the go-to guy. He scored their only touchdowns.
Yep.
He is unguardable.
Unguardable this year.
I don't get it.
And he doesn't get enough credit for it. So it's ridiculous. I don't know how you go near 2,000 yards and was it 16 or 18 touchdowns? 18 touchdowns? 16 touchdowns. And you don't get enough credit. I saw ESPN had it number 1 of the greatest wide receiver season of all time, which is remarkable. It deserves to be in the conversation.
Considering it's Cooper Kupp.
It deserves to be in the conversation, hands down. And I think he's earned this award outright, period, point blank.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again.
Which Jonathan Taylor's going to get his fair share of votes. It should be like 60-40, 65-35 split, but I just think Kupp, I just think he's got to win it, man. If you win a Triple Crown and you don't win Offensive Player of the Year, that's kind of a disgrace. Like, people talk about Vladdy, and which Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a different conversation solely because of Shohei Ohtani. But like, Vladdy almost won the Triple Crown and was like, he was an MVP finalist. He took second, but Ohtani was almost unanimous. Like, like, you can't do any better than what Kupp did this year. And I know Jonathan Taylor's scratching the surface of that, but I just think Kupp is a next level above that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, I don't think either of us are going to complain whoever gets this. I mean, There's going to be controversy if Cup doesn't, but it just is what it is. They both had great years. They both pretty much carried their teams to great years.
Yeah.
I mean, Cup's that guy for this Rams team right now going to the Super Bowl. And now we leave the Big Daddy. You see the names, MVP. So if we were going off of what we think the voters are going to do, we think the voters are going to vote Rodgers.
Yes.
We both agree with that. But it has to be Tom Brady. It statistically, how this year went, it has to be Tom Brady. You cannot lead the league in passing yards, touchdowns?
Yep. Completions, which is the highest ever, and attempts, and was like top 6 or 7
and
percentage.
44.
Yeah.
I don't care how stacked this Tampa team is. You have a 44-year-old quarterback that had his best statistical season. And it's so hard because this is such a recency bias type of voting. And they're also going to look at touchdown to INT ratio, which Rodgers blows him out of the water. It's hard, but we really do not see a way that Brady shouldn't win this. We recognize he probably won't, but it's just remarkable what he did this year. Because you go into last year, they win the Super Bowl, they run it back. You go, all right, this defense is going to do a big chunk. Brady will do his part, and they'll figure it out and run it back. That didn't happen per se, but still, Tom Brady, the GOAT, had his best statistical year of his career.
And probably won't win MVP.
And he's probably not going to win it. But, yeah.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, we both would pick Brady, but I think we both acknowledge that it's going to be Rodgers just because of Rodgers' recency, turned it up in the second half of the year, doesn't turn the ball over. He really only has one weapon in Green Bay, and that's Devante Adams.
The greatest weapon in
the
league.
Best receiver in the league. It's hard to argue that because Tom has Gronk, Evans, he had Antonio Brown for most of the year. He had Chris Godwin for most of the year. His run game is insane. And you just look at Green Bay, and it's Devante Adams and the occasional Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon big game.
Mm-hmm.
And Rodgers put up such great numbers. I mean, it is what it is. If Rodgers wins it, I'm not going to be too upset, but it should be Brady.
I just thought of this. Maybe here's a comparison. We were just talking about comeback player of the year. If Burrow wins over Dak, Brady should win over Rodgers.
Yes.
For these simple facts that Burrow's the better big game player, won the big games, and so did Tom Brady this year. Won all the big games. Aaron Rodgers, he played some fantastic games this year. The number one game that sticks out in my mind, Arizona.
Huge.
Dude literally won with no one on his team. Literally no one. And managed to beat a team that was 7-0 at the time.
Yep, undefeated at the time.
Yeah, they were undefeated. And goes out and beats them in Arizona while they were healthy. I think that's also a testament to LaFleur during the regular season. But they don't win the big games.
When it matters most.
There's two ways you can look at it. From a counting stats perspective, Brady should sweep Rodgers from a counting stats perspective, being yards, touchdowns, completions, attempts, etc. From an advanced analytics perspective, Rodgers should sweep Brady.
Yes.
In every aspect. It's literally two complete opposite ends of the spectrum statistically. When I look at impact on the game, people are always going to tell me Rodgers has more impact on the game than Brady does. I wholeheartedly disagree. I think they have equal amount of impact on the game. If not, it wavers week to week who has more impact. Like Brady at the end of this year had to drag a roster with Gronk being banged up a little bit, Fournette out for 4 to 6 weeks. No Godwin, who tears his ACL at the end of the year. Antonio Brown goes absolutely loco, loses Tristan Wirfs. like the impact is so just like in your face, and people still miss it because he's done it for 22 years. Rodgers has been doing it for this almost the same amount of period, and the eye test will tell you Rodgers, but up here it is Tom Brady
And on there
all day, every day. I will ride to my grave with Tom Brady. Rodgers is going to win. TD to INT ratio favors Rodgers. But when we talk about IQ, leadership, all the intangible things that you can't see on a stat sheet or in advanced analytics, you can't quantify clutch, and you can't quantify leadership and just the straight flat out ability to win. And that's what Tom Brady resembles. That's what he's resembled for 22 years. And he's doing it, all of it, just as the cherry on top at the age of 44.
Yeah, I mean, I'll disagree with Bailey a little bit because we've had many of discussions about this.
Yes, far away.
I just look at it and I look at the rosters when healthy. That's how you have to base it. When healthy, if you take Rodgers off the Packers, they are only Devante Adams. And in the occasional run game, you take Brady off that Bucks team, they are still one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. They have the weapons. They have the offensive line. They have the defense. Green Bay's defense is good. I just think Tampa's is a little better. That would be the only argument I could see for Rodgers winning it, is he did just as well with less. But Brady just is so different because now, I mean, it's out. Brady's retired. Now the Bucks are scrambling. Like,
They're screwed.
They're not. Brady's not back. Gronk won't come back, most likely. We're assuming it's pretty obvious.
Godwin's
a free agent.
Yep.
Fournette might be.
Unless he's got one more year, I think.
But, like, their window is now closed.
Mm-hmm.
You flip that to Rodgers and Green Bay, his future is uncertain. But if you can keep Rodgers and Adams together, that team is consistent enough and will make the playoffs. It's just Brady's impact on the Bucks with
Ability
the rest
to
of the
win.
roster, they just don't lose.
Yeah.
They just don't lose. It's as simple as that until they play the Rams and Cooper Kupp with half the roster injured.
Mhm.
It's remarkable. And like we said, 22 years. We've had 22 years of Brady, 17 of Rodgers.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, Rodgers 17. He sat behind Favre for a little bit. But we have probably seen two of the best, and that's not even throwing in the Mannings, Breeze, Rivers, whoever else you want to throw in there, Big Ben. We have probably seen some of the best quarterback play in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And these two are the front of it.
Mhm.
And the fact it comes down to them almost every year, and Rodgers has more MVPs than Brady right now.
He does.
And that says volumes. It's just, it's kind of like when you look at the NBA, like before the Giannis's, the Jokic's, and Durant was really catching fire, LeBron should have been winning MVPs every year. Jordan should have been winning MVPs every year.
Jordan should have like 14 MVPs.
Exactly. So it just goes off of how the voting is, and how the voting is, it's going to be Rodgers again. But when the eye test, the stuff like Bailey said that you cannot track on a stat sheet, it has to be Tom Brady. And now it means more than ever because he's most likely done. Like
He's done.
It's as simple as that. So I could see them now going, okay, well, Brady's retired. Let's give him one more to ride off into the sunset with. But Brady has nothing else to prove. He doesn't need it. And Rodgers doesn't necessarily. Rodgers needs a championship.
Rodgers needs multiple championships.
Because Rodgers' knock is one championship. That's about the only knock you can really give Rodgers. Brady, it goes, oh, whoa, a fourth MVP, along with my 7 rings, along with
my 15 Pro Bowls.
Yeah, like it's so insane. I'm gonna miss watching Brady. I'm gonna miss Rodgers if he leaves the Packers and goes to another team, or if he for some reason retires. If Rodgers retires too, that'll be the most stacked Hall of Fame class of all time. When you get Brady, you get Rodgers, you get Ben.
Yeah.
That is insane. But I don't think either of us see Rodgers just calling it quits. But that's my soapbox. It should be Brady. I get why it's going to be Rodgers because it's that close in my eyes. It's just the eye test when you watch a football game. It should be Tom Brady.
Bingo.
Boom.
There's our case. I mean, I don't think you can lay it out better than that. If you have any counters as to why Aaron Rodgers should win this over Tom Brady,
Or
we
anyone.
understand.
We
understand advanced analytics, all that. He even owns a franchise.
He owns Chicago, man.
Which maybe that's why he'll most valuable because he just owns Chicago.
He has stake in the ownership.
We understand both aspects. We have acknowledged both aspects in both of our takes. I think this is the best we probably could have laid it out to you, is literally just showing you the pure statistical data on both ends. But if you have any counters, let us know in the comments who your pick is. But the most important part is why.
Yeah.
Why?
Especially for this one. Give us your picks for all of the awards. But specifically, we want to know your MVP because we know there's people that disagree with us because a lot of people think it's Rodgers and it's not even close for some reason. And you just look at these stats by Brady. I know they don't really account for age in this because, they should now because of Brady after this year, but you don't do that at 44. No typical human being should be able to play the way that Tom Brady plays, especially this year. At the age of 44, going on 45. He's closer to 45 than 44.
Yeah.
It's just
remarkable. It's remarkable. It's a testament to both these guys. If Brady is fully done, which I believe he is, and we'll get into that.
Oh, different episode.
That would be previous because we're pre-recording these. Bingo. But if he is surely done, this is a testament to both these guys. The MVP shouldn't be anyone else but these two.
If they could co-MVP, I wouldn't complain.
I wouldn't complain either.
It's been done before.
It has been. It's lame though.
Yeah,
it's lame.
Just pick one.
It's like a tie in football. Lame. You don't want
boring.
It. Give us
the content.
Yeah.
Derek, here's the content.
Give us the definitive winner. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. This was actually a lot more fun than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, because I think we agreed with a lot of them, but there's ways to counter them.
Yep.
That's what's so insane. Outside of the rookies of the year, really, you could switch any of them out and maybe Watt.
And probably TJ Watt.
Yeah. But half the awards are up in the air, I think.
I agree.
And it's gonna be fun. This is gonna be maybe a year I actually tune into the NFL awards live, but we'll have to see because
absolutely. So that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. This is gonna be dang near 70 by the time we get there. But thank you guys for tuning in. If you want to follow everything at Hurdle Sports, go over to our Instagram at Hurdle Podcast HRDL Podcast. If you want to listen to just the audio version, Spotify is the place to go for that. Hurdle Sports. Type that in the search bar. Go down to podcast. Mine and Logan's name is there. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all that stuff. Notification bell for the video. Their notifications are extremely accurate.
Especially on the YouTube
test, especially on the YouTube end. It'll literally be 10 seconds after we post. So get here. We save it to the end because if you don't like what you're listening to, you don't got to do it. That's the beautiful thing about America.
And YouTube.
But if you like what you're listening to, stay around, man.
We've got so much this is the thing. We know football's coming to an end and it's sad, but there's so much more content that we have lined up with mock drafts, with other sports related stuff that maybe isn't the pure game.
Yeah.
There's more sports going on. We're going to be getting right into the best part of the sports year, and that's March Madness coming up soon. And it's going to be fun. So I know if you're a football person, like we are, I'd say we're more football than anything.
Yeah.
There's still going to be content that is very enjoyable for sure.
Most definitely. Stay tuned. Thank y'all for watching. Way to close out, Logan.
Boom.
Logan, Bailey, we're out. Peace, guys.
Peace, y'all.